Have you ever noticed how, after 70, certain things start to change in ways no one warned you about? Maybe it's not sleeping as deeply as you used to, or finding it harder to get up from a chair without using your arms. Or perhaps it's the way conversations seem to pass you by at family gatherings, leaving you feeling more like an observer than a participant. These changes come quietly, almost subtly, until one day, you realize they become a part of your everyday life. But what if these shifts weren't just normal aging? What if some of the struggles you're facing could be signs that something deeper is happening? Something that deserves attention, not dismissal. You see, the truth about life after 70 isn't talked about enough. The physical aches, the emotional shifts, the silent worries, they're often brushed aside as just getting older. But they're not small. And they're not just yours. Millions of older adults face these same hidden truths, feeling like no one ever told them what to expect. In this video, we're opening up the conversation, not just about what changes, but about what you can do to stay strong, connected, and fully you. Because you deserve to know. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. You start losing people but gaining depth. After you turn 70, there's a quiet truth that many people don't talk about, but nearly everyone feels. The world around you seems to shrink. Friends move away, some pass on, and family gatherings aren't as loud or as crowded as they once were. Birthdays come and go with fewer candles on the cake, and the phone doesn't ring as much as it did in your younger years. At first, these changes creep in slowly. A neighbor's house goes up for sale, the weekly bridge game has an empty chair, or a familiar face at church simply isn't there anymore. You might catch yourself remembering the laughter around your kitchen table or the voices that used to fill your living room and wonder where all that time went. It's natural to think this is just the way aging works, that as we get older, it's normal to lose friends, to watch loved ones drift away, or to sit in the quiet that follows. Maybe you tell yourself, everyone goes through this. I should just accept it. It's what society often teaches us. Loss is a part of growing old, and with each goodbye, our world becomes a little smaller, a little lonelier. But what if there's more to this story than just loss? What if, in the silence that follows, something else begins to grow? Something deep and precious that no one ever mentions when they talk about aging. Is it possible that, as you lose people, you also start to gain a new kind of depth, a richer sense of self, a clearer understanding of what matters most, and a deeper connection to the world around you? Science has something to say about this. Studies on aging, loneliness, and resilience show that while it's true older adults experience more social loss, they also tend to develop a remarkable capacity for reflection, empathy, and emotional wisdom. The human brain, even as it ages, adapts to change. As friendships ebb and flow, as family circles tighten, our inner world can expand. We become more attuned to our feelings and those of others, more capable of gratitude, forgiveness, and even joy in the smallest things. Researchers have found that older adults are often better equipped to handle grief and navigate life's emotional challenges than younger people, simply because they've lived through so much and learned from every experience. Think about the memories you hold, the ones you carry like treasures in your heart. Maybe it's the sound of your sister's laughter on a summer night, the way your best friend would squeeze your hand just so, or the scent of your father's cologne. Even when these people are no longer here, their presence lingers in these small, powerful memories. Over time, you might find yourself looking back, not with bitterness, but with a kind of gentle gratitude. The loss is still there, of course, but so is a sense of depth, a wisdom that can't be learned from books or television, but only from living, loving, and letting go. So, what can you do when the silence feels too loud, when the ache of missing someone weighs heavy on your chest? It's easy to let loneliness settle in, but you don't have to face it alone. One gentle step is to honor the connections you've had by creating new rituals that celebrate their impact on your life. For some, this might mean writing letters to lost friends or loved ones, even if those letters will never be sent. For others, it's keeping a memory box, filled with photos and keepsakes, or telling stories to grandchildren about the people who shaped you. Some find comfort in volunteering, joining a local group, or simply reaching out to a neighbor for coffee. It doesn't have to be grand. Sometimes, just sitting on the porch and watching the sunset is enough to remind you that life is still rich and meaningful. Let me tell you about someone who found a way to turn a loss into something lasting. Frank, a retired school principal from Ohio, had always loved sharing stories. After his wife passed away and many of his friends were gone, the loneliness hit him hard. Instead of shutting down, Frank began writing letters, one for each of his grandchildren, telling them stories from his life, sharing wisdom, and even a few family secrets. He mailed a new letter every month, sometimes adding old photos or a pressed flower from his garden. The kids started writing back, and soon, the whole family looked forward to Frank's next letter. Those simple acts of connection not only gave Frank a sense of purpose but also helped his grandchildren feel closer to their family roots. Over time, what began as a way to cope with loss became a new source of joy and connection. If you're sitting there thinking, "But I'm not a writer," or "I don't have a big family," know this: depth isn't about how many people are in your life, but how deeply you cherish the ones you have, and the stories you've lived. Your memories, your lessons, your compassion. They matter, and they're worth sharing, even if it's just in a quiet conversation with a friend or a simple note to yourself. Aging after 70 brings change. Sometimes heartache, sometimes solitude. But within those moments of loss is the possibility of rediscovering who you are, and what makes life meaningful, even now. You might find yourself letting go of things that used to worry you, or discovering new ways to connect, through reading, gardening, faith, or simply being present for someone else who needs a listening ear. So, if today feels a little quieter than yesterday, remember, the space left behind by loss isn't empty. It's filled with the depth you've earned through a lifetime of love, laughter, and resilience. Every memory is a layer, every lesson a treasure. As you move forward, you carry not just the weight of your years, but the richness of a life well lived. You're not just losing people, you're gaining a depth that few ever truly know. And that depth is a gift, both to yourself and to those lucky enough to share this chapter with you. 2. Your body speaks in whispers before it shouts. After 70, it's common to think of aches and pains as an expected part of the journey. You might notice little changes: stiffness in your knees when you get up in the morning, a slight twinge in your back as you lean over to tie your shoes, or an afternoon fatigue that seems to settle in earlier than it used to. Sometimes it's a subtle shortness of breath after walking up the driveway, or a lingering soreness in your shoulder after a day spent gardening. Most days, these signals come quietly, almost politely, like a whisper in the background of your busy thoughts. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. At first, it's easy to brush these things off. That's just what happens when you get older, you might tell yourself. Maybe you shrug it off, take another sip of coffee, and keep pushing forward with your day. After all, you've weathered bigger storms, raising kids, building a career, facing loss, and starting over. What's a little stiffness or fatigue compared to all of that? But here's a question worth asking. What if these gentle nudges from your body aren't just normal aging, but early signs, messages your body is quietly sending, hoping you'll listen before the whispers turn into shouts? Are these little aches and tired moments your body's way of telling you something important, long before real trouble arrives? Science now tells us that the body gives us signals well before a serious health issue appears. Things like persistent fatigue, changes in balance, increased thirst, or even small changes in memory can be early warning signs, not just of aging, but sometimes of treatable issues. Muscle weakness, for example, can indicate you're losing muscle mass faster than you should, which can affect everything from balance to how steady you feel on your feet. Joint stiffness might be your body asking for more gentle movement. Even small changes in your sleep pattern could be related to underlying conditions that, if caught early, are far easier to manage. Think of it like this: your body is the most loyal companion you'll ever have. For years, it carried you through sleepless nights, cross-country road trips, long workdays, and joyful family reunions. Now, as you age, it still wants to serve you well, but it needs a little more attention and a little more care. These whispers, those quiet twinges, odd sensations, or tiny changes in your daily rhythm, are its way of asking for help before things get urgent. So what can you do? The good news is that listening to your body doesn't require fancy equipment or a medical degree. It starts with simple awareness. Take a few moments every morning to check in with yourself. How do your feet feel on the floor when you first stand up? Are you steady or a little wobbly? Do you feel more tired than usual, or does your energy bounce back after breakfast? Has your sleep changed lately? Do you wake up more often, or feel less rested in the morning. If you notice a new ache or discomfort that sticks around for more than a week, don't ignore it. Write it down. Mention it to your doctor, even if it seems small. Sometimes these details help your healthcare team spot patterns you might not see yourself. Along with paying attention, there are gentle steps you can take every day. Stretching for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning keeps joints limber and muscles warm. If you can, go for a short walk outdoors. Fresh air and movement work wonders for body and spirit. Drink water, even if you don't feel thirsty. As we age, the sense of thirst becomes less reliable. Try not to stay in one position too long. Stand up and move every hour, even if it's just around the room. These are simple habits, but they make a world of difference over time. Let me share a story that might sound familiar. Ruth, a lively grandmother from Illinois, used to love tending her backyard flowers. But one spring, she noticed her knees felt stiff each morning, and she'd lose her balance bending to reach her favorite roses. For months, she brushed it off as just getting older. Then one day, she tripped and had a minor fall, not enough to cause serious harm, but it shook her confidence. That was the moment Ruth decided to listen to her body's whispers. She started seeing a physical therapist, who showed her gentle exercises to strengthen her legs and improve her balance. Ruth also began paying closer attention to how she moved, choosing shoes with better support and making sure to stretch each day before heading outside. The changes were small, but over several months, she found herself moving more easily, less afraid, and more in tune with her body's needs. Her garden is still blooming, and so is Ruth's confidence. It's easy, especially for those of us raised to tough it out, to ignore the first signs our bodies send. But taking care of yourself is not a weakness. It's an act of respect for your past, for all you've lived through, and for the years still ahead. By listening to your body's whispers, you give yourself the chance to stay independent, active, and joyful for as long as possible. So today, I encourage you to tune in. The aches, the tired moments, the changes you notice, they're not just signs of aging, but reminders that you're still here, still capable, and still deserving of gentle care. If you respond to these whispers now, you may never have to hear your body shout. Instead, you'll discover a new partnership with yourself, one based on listening, respect, and a shared desire to keep living well. Every year, every decade brings new lessons. Let your body be your teacher now, guiding you not with fear, but with quiet wisdom. And remember, you're not alone in this. Millions of Americans are navigating these same changes, each in their way. Be kind to yourself, keep moving, and know that you have the power to shape your own experience of aging, starting today. 3. The loneliness is real, but so is the power to reconnect. There's a moment, often after the sun goes down, when the house feels a little too quiet. You might turn on the television just to fill the silence, or find yourself wandering from room to room, not quite sure what to do next. After 70, this feeling of emptiness can creep in, sometimes suddenly, sometimes gradually. It can hit hardest during the holidays, on birthdays, or on an ordinary Tuesday evening when you realize you haven't had a real conversation with anyone all day. Loneliness, in these moments, can feel as real and physical as any ache or pain, settling into the spaces where laughter and conversation once lived. Many people, maybe even you, have been told that feeling lonely is just part of getting older. After all, friends move away, loved ones pass on, and families get busy with their own lives. Maybe you've shrugged it off, thinking, everyone my age must feel this way. I should just get used to it. But deep down, that sense of isolation can sting. Sometimes, it brings with it a quiet ache, a longing to be seen, to be needed, or simply to be heard by someone who truly understands. But what if loneliness isn't just something to endure or accept? What if, buried beneath those heavy, quiet hours, there's a seed of possibility, a chance to create new connections and rediscover joy in ways you never expected? Could it be that loneliness, instead of being a life sentence, is a gentle nudge toward something new? Science is clear on this. Loneliness isn't just an emotion, it has a real effect on both our minds and bodies. Studies show that social isolation can impact everything from sleep quality to heart health, and even how well our memory works. The human brain is wired for connection. It doesn't matter how old we are, our need to belong, to share, and to love does not fade with age. Forming new connections, no matter how small, can protect us against depression, keep our minds sharp, and even help us live longer. Researchers at Harvard have found that the happiest, healthiest older adults are those who nurture social ties, whether through family, friends, or community groups. Of course, knowing all this doesn't make it any easier to reach out, especially if you're feeling out of practice or unsure where to start. Maybe it's been a long time since you made a new friend, or maybe you worry you've lost the knack for conversation. The world has changed so much, and it can seem like everyone is busy or distracted by their own lives. But the truth is, small steps matter. Connection doesn't have to mean joining a big group or attending loud events. It can be as simple as a wave to a neighbor, a phone call to an old friend, or a chat with someone in the checkout line. If picking up the phone feels daunting, start with something gentle. Write a letter or an email to someone you haven't spoken with in a while. Share a memory, a kind word, or even just a simple hello. Consider joining a book club at the local library, or a class at the senior center, even if it's just once a month. Technology, too, can be a friend. Many older adults have found new meaning in connecting with family over video calls or playing games online with friends and grandchildren. Don't be afraid to ask for help setting up a smartphone or computer. There are often free classes and patient teachers who'd be happy to guide you. Let me tell you about Alice, who lives in North Carolina. Alice lost her husband several years ago, and most of her close friends had moved away. The loneliness weighed on her for months, and she found herself watching TV into the early hours, feeling invisible and disconnected. One day, her daughter suggested she try an online chess app, something she'd never done before. At first, it felt silly, but soon Alice started playing daily games with people all over the country. Some matches ended with just a good game, but others turned into lively conversations. One new friend in California sent her a postcard of the Golden Gate Bridge. Through these simple exchanges, Alice discovered that even in her quiet home, she could reach out, share stories, and laugh with someone she'd never met. That little spark of connection changed everything. It gave her days structure, purpose, and a renewed sense of joy. It might seem small, but every connection counts. Volunteering, even just a few hours a month, can be another way to meet people and give back. Reading to children at the library, helping out at a local food pantry, or joining a walking group can lead to genuine friendships. If mobility is a challenge, consider pen pal programs for seniors or even calling into group discussions by phone. You don't need a crowd, you just need one or two people who care and the willingness to try something new. If you're feeling hesitant or vulnerable, remember this: reaching out is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of courage. The longing for connection is human and universal. You have stories to share, wisdom to offer, and a heart that is still capable of giving and receiving love. So, if today feels a little lonely, try taking one small step toward connection. Wave at someone on your walk. Call an old friend and reminisce about a funny memory. Try a new activity, even if it feels awkward at first. And if you need help, don't hesitate to ask. There are people and resources out there, waiting for someone just like you. You've already made it through so much in life. You have the strength to reach out, to build new connections, and to let others in. The loneliness may be real, but so is the power to reconnect, to rediscover laughter, friendship, and meaning, no matter your age. Each day is a new chance to let a little more light in. Remember, you're never truly alone. There's a whole world out there, waiting to meet you. One smile, one conversation, one brave step at a time. 4. You still crave purpose, and that's beautiful. There's a certain quiet that settles over life after retirement. At first, it might feel like freedom, the alarm clock silenced, no more morning commutes, and the gift of time to linger over your coffee. But as the months and years go by, that quiet can start to feel like a question. You may find yourself wondering, what now? The days are yours, yet sometimes they stretch out longer than you expected. Gone are the routines of work and the flurry of raising children, replaced by a softer, sometimes unsettling calm. You notice that people talk about winding down, about taking it easy, but deep inside, there's still a part of you searching for something more, a reason to get up in the morning, a purpose that pulls you forward. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. For so many older adults, this feeling is both surprising and deeply personal. Society often tells us that the purpose is for the young, for those building careers, starting families, and making big plans. It's easy to think, Maybe I've had my turn. But what if that's not true? What if the need for purpose doesn't fade with age, but only changes shape? Is it possible that this chapter of life holds a new kind of meaning? One that's just waiting to be discovered? Researchers have found that having a sense of purpose is just as vital in our 70s and 80s as it was in our earlier years, sometimes even more so. Studies from institutions like the University of Michigan and Harvard show that older adults who maintain a clear sense of purpose live longer, experience fewer health problems, and report higher levels of happiness and resilience. Purpose isn't about big accomplishments or earning a paycheck. It's about having a reason to greet the day. That reason can be small but powerful. Tending to a garden, caring for a pet, volunteering in the community, learning a new skill, or simply being there for a friend or neighbor. Maybe you've noticed that you still get that spark, the urge to help out when someone is in need, or the desire to share your story, wisdom, and laughter with a grandchild. Even something as simple as making a neighbor's day brighter with a homemade pie, or checking in on a friend who's lost a spouse, can give your days a sense of direction and warmth. Sometimes purpose appears in quiet moments. A book you've always wanted to write, a painting you're finally ready to start, or a box of old photos waiting to be organized and passed down. The truth is, meaning doesn't leave us. It just asks us to find it in new places. Consider the story of Harold, a retired mechanic from Minnesota. After his wife passed away, Harold struggled with loneliness and aimless days. He missed the noise and bustle of the garage, the satisfaction of solving a problem with his hands. One afternoon, while tinkering with his old Chevy in the driveway, a neighbor's teenage son wandered over and watched him work. Harold invited the boy to help, showing him how to change the oil and tighten the bolts. That small gesture turned into a weekly ritual, and soon other neighborhood kids began to drop by, eager to learn. Harold started calling it Garage School. The kids learned practical skills, and Harold found his days filling up with laughter, questions, and the sense that he was needed again. For Harold, purpose was waiting right there, in the simple act of sharing what he loved. If you're searching for your sense of purpose, you don't have to look far. Start by asking yourself, what makes me feel alive? When do I feel most useful, most like myself? Sometimes the answer is right under your nose. Perhaps it's caring for a grandchild, joining a local choir, or planting tomatoes in the backyard. For others, it might be volunteering at a food pantry, reading to children at the library, or organizing a community cleanup. Even if your health limits what you can do physically, your wisdom, patience, and life experience are gifts to those around you. And don't underestimate the power of sharing your story. So much of the richness of American culture comes from elders passing down memories, recipes, and lessons learned through a lifetime of ups and downs. Maybe now is the time to write that memoir, record your voice telling family tales, or simply have long conversations with the people you love most. Your life is a tapestry of moments and experiences that matter, and by sharing them, you give meaning to others as well as yourself. Remember, too, that purpose can change and evolve. What gave you meaning in your 50s or 60s might not feel the same now, and that's okay. Be gentle with yourself as you explore what excites and inspires you today. Maybe you try something new, a painting class, a walking group, a volunteer project. Even if you're nervous or unsure, taking that first small step can make a world of difference. If you ever feel discouraged or believe your best years are behind you, let this be your reminder. Purpose is not a number, and it doesn't retire. It lives in your willingness to reach out, to care, to create, and to keep searching for meaning in each new day. You still have so much to offer, more than you may realize. So wake up tomorrow with a little curiosity. Ask yourself, what small thing can I do today that brings me joy or helps someone else? The answer doesn't have to be big or dramatic. Even the smallest acts, a smile, a kind word, a thoughtful gesture, can add up to a life of deep significance. You still crave purpose, and that's beautiful. It's a sign that your spirit is very much alive. Embrace it. Follow it. Let it lead you to new adventures and to connections that make every day matters. The world still needs what only you can give. 5. People may talk at you, but you deserve to be heard. There's something that happens, often quietly, as the years add up. You might notice it in the waiting room at your doctor's office, or even around the kitchen table with family. Conversations shift. Where once you were asked for advice, now people sometimes talk over you or about you, as if you're not in the room. Maybe the nurse explains things to your son instead of you. Or your grandchildren rush through their stories, barely pausing to hear your reply. At church or community gatherings, well-meaning folks sometimes speak slowly and loudly, as if age has made you invisible or less able to understand. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? To be present, to have so much life and wisdom to share, and yet feel like your voice is muffled by the noise of others' good intentions or assumptions. Maybe you found yourself nodding along to avoid conflict, or biting your tongue to keep the peace. And when the conversation moves on, there's an ache, a quiet wish that someone would simply listen. If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. It happens to countless older adults, day after day, across America. But here's a question worth asking. Does getting older mean your thoughts and experiences matter less? Or is it possible that now, more than ever, your voice deserves to be heard? After all, you carry decades of living. Stories of triumph, heartbreak, laughter, survival, and change. Who better to offer perspective, advice, or even just a listening ear? The truth is, your words have weight. Your voice is valuable, and it's never too late to make it heard. Research backs this up. Studies show that older adults who feel heard and respected experience less loneliness, greater satisfaction, and even improved health. There's a reason so many cultures revere their elders. Wisdom is forged over time, through challenges faced and lessons learned. When society fails to listen to older voices, it loses something irreplaceable. And while it's true that some people are impatient or distracted, it doesn't mean you have to accept being silenced. So how can you gently remind the world of your presence and power? Sometimes it starts with small steps, speaking up for yourself at the doctor's office, asking clarifying questions, or making sure you're included in important decisions about your own life. If someone talks over you, try calmly saying, "I'd like to share my thoughts on this," or "I have something I'd like to add." It might feel awkward at first, but you'll be surprised how often people respond with respect when you assert your voice. Another way to be heard is by finding new platforms for your stories and ideas. Many older adults have discovered unexpected joy in sharing their lives online, whether through a blog, a YouTube channel, or even TikTok videos. Take the story of Walter, an 82-year-old Vietnam veteran from Pennsylvania. Walter's grandson helped him set up a camera and record short videos where he shared memories from his service, lessons about life, and his favorite jokes. To their surprise, people from around the country, and even the world, started tuning in. Some left comments saying his words reminded them of their grandparents, while others thanked him for his honesty and warmth. Walter never expected to have an audience, but what mattered most was the feeling of being heard, truly heard, once again. If technology isn't your thing, consider traditional ways of connecting. Write letters to friends, family, or even your local newspaper. Volunteer to read at the library, speak at community events, or share your experiences at senior centers or schools. Sometimes your presence alone is enough to inspire those around you to listen more closely. It's also important to remember that listening is a two-way street. When you take the time to truly hear others, whether it's a grandchild's story, a neighbor's troubles, or a friend's worries, you model the kind of respect and attention you wish to receive. Over time, people notice. They begin to slow down, to ask questions, to linger longer in conversation. This quiet revolution, one that starts with listening and ends with being heard, can reshape families, communities, and even the way we think about aging itself. You might encounter resistance or impatience along the way. Some people are set in their ways, or uncomfortable with change. But don't let that stop you. Remember, your perspective is unique. Your experiences have value, not just to you, but to everyone lucky enough to know you. So if you find yourself overlooked, talked at, or dismissed, hold on to this simple truth. You deserve to be heard. You have earned the right to speak your mind, to share your wisdom, to tell your stories. Don't shrink to fit someone else's expectations of what it means to grow older. Instead, stand tall in your truth, knowing that your voice matters. Even if it's just one person who listens, a nurse who finally asks you directly, a grandchild who sits still long enough to hear your story, a neighbor who lingers over coffee, you are making a difference. You're reminding the world that every voice, at every age, counts. So keep speaking. Keep sharing. The world needs the sound of your voice, now more than ever. You've lived through so much, and your words are a bridge between the past and the future, a gift to those who are wise enough to listen. 6. You start letting go, and life feels lighter. There comes a time, often quietly after 70, when you begin to notice something unexpected. Some of the things you used to worry about no longer seem to matter as much. The pressure to be perfect, the weight of old regrets, even the desire to please everyone, they begin to slip away, little by little. Perhaps you catch yourself chuckling over things that once kept you up at night. You start to see that life's rough edges, once so sharp, have worn smooth with the years. You find yourself exhaling more deeply, and with every gentle breath, a sense of lightness creeps in. Many older adults will nod knowingly at this change, even if they haven't put it into words. Letting go, for so much of our lives, can feel impossible. We hold tightly to hurts, ambitions, routines, and responsibilities, afraid that releasing them means giving up or losing control. Society sometimes tells us that aging means loss, but few mention the profound relief that can come with setting burdens down. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. But here's a gentle question. Is letting go truly a loss, or could it be a quiet liberation? Could it be that by loosening our grip on the things that no longer serve us, we create space for peace, joy, and even a new sense of freedom? Science gives us an answer rooted in both psychology and biology. As people age, they naturally become better at managing emotions, accepting imperfection, and prioritizing what truly matters. Studies show that older adults are often more forgiving, both of themselves and others. The brain, it turns out, rewires itself over time to focus less on what's missing and more on what's meaningful. This wisdom, earned through decades of life, can bring comfort and perspective in ways that younger people often can't imagine. Letting go takes many forms. For some, it's the gradual release of old grudges, understanding finally that holding on to anger only weighs you down. Maybe you find yourself choosing forgiveness, not because you've forgotten, but because you want to free yourself from pain. For others, it's about releasing perfectionism. You learn to accept your changing body, the silver in your hair, the lines on your face. You see them not as flaws, but as reminders of the roads you've traveled. You begin to cherish what's left, instead of mourning what's gone. There's also the letting go of old expectations. You may once have felt pressure to do it all, to be everything to everyone, but now, your priorities have shifted. You allow yourself to rest, to say no, to spend more time on things that truly bring you joy, like reading a good book, tending your garden, or simply sitting on the porch watching the world go by. These choices, though small, are acts of self-care and courage. Let me share a story of someone who found new lightness through letting go. Marjorie, from Oregon, spent much of her life trying to be the perfect mother, wife, and community volunteer. She worried constantly about what others thought and carried around guilt for things she hadn't done or said. After her 75th birthday, a health scare forced her to slow down. At first, she was frustrated. Used to being busy, she hated asking for help. But as the weeks passed, Marjorie began to let go of old standards. She allowed her daughter to cook for her, let friends run errands, and discovered that accepting help was not a weakness, but a gift. She started journaling, writing down the things she could release: worry, guilt, resentment. Each page became lighter, and so did Marjorie. She found more laughter in her days, and more grace for herself and those around her. If you're wondering how to begin this process, know that letting go isn't about erasing the past or ignoring your feelings. It's about accepting that some things can't be changed and making peace with what is. Sometimes it helps to start small. Try a simple mindfulness exercise each morning. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine placing your worries on leaves floating down a stream. With each breath, let them drift away. Or write a letter to yourself or someone else, not to send, but as a way to set down a heavy load. Forgiveness can be another powerful way to lighten your life. You don't have to forget, but you can choose not to carry pain any longer. Permit yourself to be imperfect, to have made mistakes, and to still be worthy of kindness and love. Letting go may also mean releasing your grip on the future. No one knows what tomorrow holds, but you can decide to savor today: the warmth of sunlight on your face, the taste of your favorite meal, the sound of a friend's voice on the phone. These small moments are treasures, easy to miss when your mind is crowded with what-ifs and should-haves. And if you find it hard to let go, remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Each day is a new chance to set down something that no longer serves you. Each act of release makes space for something better. A new friendship, a moment of peace, or simply the comfort of knowing you've done your best. There's a reason so many older adults describe feeling lighter with age. It's not about having less to do, or fewer people to care for. It's about the freedom that comes when you finally stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. When you allow yourself to let go, life can open up in gentle, surprising ways. So, if you feel ready, try loosening your grip on just one old worry today. Let it float away. Notice the space that opens up, and breathe deeply into it. This is your time to find peace, not by holding on, but by learning to let go. You've earned this lightness. Allow yourself to feel it. The world hasn't gotten smaller. Your heart has simply become freer, wiser, and full of quiet joy. Aging after 70 is often seen as the closing of a book, but anyone who has walked this path knows that's far from the truth. It's not an ending, it's an unfolding. This chapter is filled with quiet wisdom, deeper reflection, and a new sense of freedom. You've weathered storms, celebrated joys, endured losses, and found lightness in letting go. And through it all, you've become someone richer, stronger, and more resilient than you ever imagined in your younger years. The changes you face may sometimes feel overwhelming: loneliness, physical aches, or the world moving a little too fast. But remember, each challenge also reveals unexpected gifts. The chance to form new connections, find meaning in simple pleasures, share your story, and discover the beauty of living with purpose and intention. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to find comfort and joy. And you deserve to wake up each day knowing your life continues to matter. Not just for what you have done, but for who you are right now. So as you move forward, embrace the lighter heart that comes with letting go, the strength that comes from your experiences, and the profound value of your voice. Seek out those small moments of joy, reach out to others, and continue to shape your days with hope, curiosity, and compassion. The journey doesn't end after 70. It simply changes. And the pages you write now are just as meaningful, if not more so, than any that came before. Thank you for sharing this journey, and never forget, you are needed, you are valued, and your best days may still be ahead.